Well, you're listening to Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio, and I am your hostess, Pat Rulo. Always happy to share everyone I meet who just may make a positive difference in your life. I met today's guest when we invited her to share her radio program called The Gift of Choice on our Speak Up Talk radio network. Now, we're only accepting programming from existing radio hosts who have the background and expertise to really help our listeners improve their lives. And so it is with my wonderful new friend. She is Bonnie Groessl. Bonnie is board certified by the American Nurses Credentialing Center as a family nurse practitioner and has additional training in integrative medicine, mind-body techniques, energy work, as well as headache and chronic pain management. She owns the Bridge to Health, an integrative healing center in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Bonnie is recognized as an expert in helping people make changes to achieve their goals. Her focus is on providing an integrative, holistic approach to people with chronic emotional and physical pain. Clients learn tools that bring together mind-body medicine, nutrition, energy medicine, and spirituality to help them enjoy the lives that they deserve. She is also author of the book, 5 Steps to Better Health and Happiness, Your Guide to Natural Wellness, and the audio set, The Ultimate Health and Wellness Gift Set, the Essential Mind-Body Connection audio system. Now, I read the book from cover to cover, and it is a must-read, and I know we're going to talk about that in a bit. There's so much more to know, but let's get started. Welcome to the show, Bonnie.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Pat. It's so great to be here.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have you as well. Now, Bonnie, I know that you had a difficult medical journey that brought you to do what you do today. Will you share a bit of that with us?
Oh, sure. I always say that there are no accidents. Even our car accident wasn't really an accident. I truly do believe that it was what I was meant to experience in this lifetime to bring me to who I am today. Now, I've been a holistic nurse practitioner for many years, an RN prior to that, longer than I really care to admit to anyone because it kind of shows my age. But things are going pretty well. In 2005, I went into my own private practice, the Bridge to Health, and I was really doing well. I had lots of patients. I was maybe working a little bit too hard. That's the only thing, but I truly loved what I did. And then in 2009, my life took a little bit of a turn. We had a serious car accident. We were on our way home at midnight after going to a wedding in a nearby town. We were on the highway going 65, which is the speed limit, and there was a truck. We had a little car, they had a big truck, and they did not stop at the stop sign, so we got hit pretty hard. And I'm so thankful to this day that the other people in the other car, the kids that were in the other car, weren't hurt that bad. My husband wasn't knocked unconscious. I unfortunately was, and I was in a coma for a bit, only about maybe 3 days or so. Some of you might know, you don't really wake up from a coma. It's sort of a gradual thing. So I was in the hospital about 10 days and had lots and lots and lots of therapy, prayers, and lots of hard work, but I got my brain back, and I am so thankful and so blessed every day. Gratitude has a whole new meaning since I had that experience. So I don't regret a bit of it. I wouldn't look for that to happen to other people, certainly. You don't have to have an experience like that to really find the value in your life and have that sense of gratitude in just the simple stuff. Like, I remember the first time that I could stand up by myself in the shower. Oh, my God. I will never forget that day. It was awesome. And how often do we all take things like that for granted? So, it truly has brought me to what I do today, which is more not just the whole, medical stuff as a nurse practitioner, but the more inspiration and giving people hope and, letting them know it could be done.
See, I find that to be such a beautiful story where people have something unexpected, a hardship, a crisis, a health situation that happens to them. And in most instances, it does change a person, and hopefully for the better, and that you do have to look for that better side and that whole side of gratitude to understand why did this happen and what can I do to make that experience a positive one instead of a negative one. So I applaud you, and I'm so happy that you survived and that you're here to join us and help others.
Oh, yeah, I am too. When I was home from the hospital, I was feeling well enough to get back to my meditation practice because I've done that for years. I asked in that moment of, stillness, why did I get better so fast. How did I get so blessed? And the message that came to me, again, I'll never forget this, is that you had to prove it could be done. Not just for me necessarily, but to share that with other people, that it can be done.
Absolutely. You're a beautiful person. I'm proud that you're here and can speak these words and inspire others with your experience. Well, now, there's so much we can talk about. We could be here for weeks and weeks because your book is just thick and rich with awesome ideas. But something that grabbed my attention during our email exchange when we were trying to hone in on a few topics to talk about today. On this program, we always talk about being an empowered patient during our healthcare or hospital visits and how it's important to speak up. Yet most of us have a difficult time doing so. It's hard to ask our providers to wash their hands before touching us. We don't often ask about medications, their side effects, our diagnosis. It's almost as if we were hypnotized. And you mentioned the word hypnosis and that there are only two things required for hypnosis to occur and that healthcare providers don't even know they're doing it, but that anyone viewed as an authority easily hypnotizes people all the time. And I want to know more about that statement. So tell us what you mean.
Well, that is absolutely true. There are only two things required for hypnosis, and most people think of hypnosis as sort of a magical, mystical, I can't control anything type of experience. But really, when you sort of break it down, the only two things that are required is, one, you're in a focused state of attention. Now, if you're in a hospital or in a doctor's office, you better believe you're in a focused state of attention, especially when the doctor comes in, if the nurse comes in to tell you something. The second thing that's required for hypnosis is a suggestion of some type. And it's not so much what the healthcare provider or any authority figure really says, it's how you interpret that. So it includes their body language, their tone of voice, not just the words. And whatever you hear from that, you're hypnotized to believe. So I can share a quick story of something a good example of this was early in my nurse practitioner years when I was actually in the Department of Internal Medicine, and I had a patient come in, and she was maybe in her 60s or so, mid-60s when I saw her, and she was coming in for chronic headaches. And I always asked, when I saw someone with any type of chronic issue, do you remember when this started and what was going on in your life? And I try to kind of get to that history, what's underneath their chronic pain. And she said, oh, yeah, she got real serious. And she said, oh, yes, I remember. I was 16, and I was visiting my grandma, and I fell out the window. I don't know how I fell out the window, but I did. And I hit my head. Well, in those days, they called the doctor to the house to make house calls. And she said, I remember, she described the couch she was laying on the porch, with the flowers that were on the couch, everything. And the doctor came in, and she was definitely in a focused state of attention, right? And he said, oh, you hit your head really hard, and you're going to have a headache for the rest of your life.
Oh.
And she did. Because in her 60s, she still had a headache every single day since she was 16. That's an example of how powerful that can be. Now, I don't know exactly what the physician said when he came to see her after he examined her, but that's what she heard. And that's what hypnotized her to have chronic pain for decades after that.
So you help people unearth that and find maybe the beginning point of that, huh?
Yes. There are ways that you can, not allow yourself to be hypnotized to begin with, and then there are ways to undo previous hypnotic suggestions. So as an example of how to not allow that, I'll use my example. When I was, in my therapy and I had to go see the neuropsychologist several times and take all those stupid tests that I don't like to take. But anyway, at one of the visits I asked, I said, do you think I'm going to get my brain back? And I was not in a very good place at that point, but, I was walking around and that kind of thing, but I had some cognitive issues yet. And he said, well, maybe, but probably not, because, but that's not going to be a bad thing, Bonnie, and you're just not going to be able to do the things that you could before, and life will be better for you. I'm sure he meant it, to sound to be positive, but it wasn't positive. Right. And so basically he said, no, I don't think you're going to get your life back. You're not going to get your brain back. You're not going to be able to think the way you used to think and do the things you used to do. And what I did is I kind of know that other side of the whole healthcare system. And, he wanted to put me on medications and do all this, traditional stuff. And I had the good fortune of being on that other side. So I kind of knew a little bit more than many people do. And so I said, to myself, and it's to him, but I said to myself, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to work so hard, and I'm not going to believe that I'm not going to get my brain back. It's going to happen. And I never for a moment doubted that I wouldn't get my brain back and all my faculties intact again. And, I don't have any scientific evidence I wasn't in a study or anything like that to prove that made a difference. But you know what? I think it made a difference because I did not allow him to hypnotize me in that way. And maybe it's because I'm a stubborn bohemian. I don't know what it is, but that's one way that you can do it. And that's, kind of goes along with speaking up during your hospital stay or your clinic visit. Don't have to accept everything. We put those folks, whether they're nurses or doctors or police officers or teachers or whoever, we put them on a pedestal. That's our choice. You don't have to do that.
I almost believe that every healthcare encounter, every doctor visit, we are already in some sort of an altered state of awareness or a heightened state of awareness where, our actual brain waves are probably behaving differently than if we were just, strolling down the street having an ice cream. So I think we should think about that ahead of time to think, all right, when I get in there, I'm going to be in an altered state, and that the suggestions could possibly be self-fulfilling. So either A, be aware of that, and B, it might be very helpful then to always bring someone with you. So you've got someone else that might be a little disconnected from you and your outcome and can hear things maybe in a more a non-connected way.
Yeah, I think that's so absolutely true. To have a life partner or a advocate of some type being with you is really important. And I'll give you another quick example of why that's so important. I had a patient who had breast cancer, and her breast cancer had returned, and she was sitting in the doctor's office waiting for her test results to see how bad it was. Do you think she was in a focused state of attention? She was there with her husband, and the doctor came in, and I have no idea what exactly he said or how he said it, but what she heard was, "You're going to die soon." That's what she heard.
Yeah.
And her husband, thankfully, was there with her, and he didn't hear that at all. So, I don't know what the physician said, but how your state of being, your health status at that moment, we hear things differently. I mean, if you put 5 people in a room and you say something to all 5 of them will probably have a different interpretation of what that is. It really behooves people, I think, to have some sort of advocate of some type there with you, if for no other reason, just to hear the information in a different way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and to go in with that thought in your mind already, okay, I'm in this state of awareness, and to realize that our mind and body are really connected, because our thoughts certainly do create who we are based on just the little stories you just told us. And there's many ways to work on that mind-body connection, but today I just want to highlight maybe 2 of them. One would be guided imagery and the other affirmation. So let's start with guided imagery. Explain, what is that and how does it work?
Well, guided imagery is really, imagery in any form, whether it's guided or interactive. There's a few different ways you can do it, but it's sort of like the back door into the subconscious mind. If you could see your mind, you can't see your mind. It doesn't show up on a CAT scan or a MRI or anything like that. But if you could see it, I think it would look like an iceberg. I always use that analogy because most people know what an iceberg looks like. So the top part of the iceberg, the part that you can see that's above the water, that's kind of like your conscious mind. That's what we know we're thinking. But that huge piece of the iceberg under the surface of the water that we can't even see, that we don't even know is there sometimes, is like our subconscious mind. And so what guided imagery or any type of imagery will do is it sort of gets into that subconscious realm, which is huge. Everything you've ever experienced, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it is in there. It's so vast that there's room for everything. And so you want the good stuff at the top. So when you use imagery or affirmations or many of those types of tools, it helps to get the good stuff at the top. Because I always tell people, you want the good stuff at the top because, and this is based on research, depending on where you read it, between 90 to 95% of what we say, do, think, feel every day, every single day, is based on not what's in our conscious mind, what we know we're thinking, but what's at the top of the pile in the subconscious mind. And that's why imagery and affirmations and many of those tools can be so powerful, because that's what really shifts things. That's what really can turn that hypnosis around. It's one of the techniques I use in helping people to undo their previous hypnotic suggestions. The woman who thought she was going to die soon, who that's what she believed, that's what we worked on. We worked on things like affirmations and some other energy techniques and guided imagery and some little hypnosis to sort of undo that. And she lived many years after that with a very happy life. So she didn't have to die soon. Now, if she wouldn't have worked on undoing those, suggestions, she might have. I don't know.
Well, because your brain really doesn't know the difference between what is real and what we think about. So it behooves us to put those mental images in our subconscious thoughts there that are positive and not negative.
Right, absolutely. The brain doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So why not imagine the best?
Exactly. So with guided imagery, we're thinking of, okay, I'm relaxing on a beach, or that I don't feel the pain. How does that work?
Well, if you're being guided as opposed to an interactive piece, you're listening to a script or a CD or something that somebody has out there, and they're giving again suggestions about feeling relaxed and how it feels to be there. The way I tend to personally do both the guided and the interactive imagery is, and that's the way I do hypnosis too, is I don't like to tell people what to do or where to go or how to feel. So I offer metaphors or analogies or suggestions and let them go wherever they want to go, because I think you can really take the best vacation that way. So there's one an audio that I have. Actually, I have it as a free thing on my website. It's called Taking a Mini Mental Vacation, and it allows you to go wherever you want to go on vacation. I don't really tell you where to go, but it's how you feel when you're there, and that's really the core. If you get to the feeling of how you're there, the words if you're doing affirmations, or the picture if you're doing imagery, doesn't matter as much as the feeling. That's really what you're after. So when people use things like guided imagery, it's really to evoke that feeling that they want. And it can be on a beach, or some people like to be in the mountains. I have had patients who say, I'm really most comfortable in bed. So we take them to the comfort of their own bed, at home, where they feel safe and secure. And so everyone is different. Some guided imagery, CDs and things that are out there are very structured, and they tell you exactly where to go and how to, what's in your environment. My process is just not that structured. I don't have anything structured in my life. My backyard is just, my gardens are not in straight lines, and everything is curved. I'm just that kind of a person. But people do it differently. But at any rate, it's really to get to the feeling. That's really what you're after, because that has the most power, the emotion.
Absolutely, I agree. Affirmations, let's talk about that for a moment. Now, if you lived in my house or my office, you would find all of these colorful 5x5 cards that someone gave me as a gift a long time ago. They're scattered everywhere, and each has a purposeful message. Like right here on my desk, I have a little card that says, "It is only a thought, and a thought can be changed." I have another one that my dad wrote, found a little scrap in his office, and I framed it, and it says, "You can do it if you believe." I have another one that says, "You are what you think about." So these subliminal messages kind of have a way of seeping into our subconscious. So I want to know what your thoughts are about that.
Well, there are a lot of people who say, affirmations don't work. I've got those little Post-it notes all over my house, and nothing has changed. So there's two comments I would have about that. First, I ask the person, well, how much do you use your affirmations? They say, oh, gosh, I do them a lot. I do them like at least 10 times in the morning and 10 times in the afternoon, and I say them out loud. And then I ask them, well, how much of the time, how much of your day do you think about all the things you don't want in your life, the negative things or the scarcity things or whatever? And they say, oh, gosh, I think about that all the time. So part of it is a matter of where do you put your emphasis? What is your predominant way of being? In the affirmations that you're reading or saying out loud, or in the wording about stuff? So that's kind of one thing. It has to be more on the good side of the affirmations. And the other thing about affirmations for people who say they don't work is, to me, and this is, my opinion, I guess, is that words are just words. Whether they're written down, if you say them, they're certainly more powerful. But I truly believe that you have to bring the emotional piece into it. You have to actually feel it. So if people say, and they have an affirmation like let's use weight loss as an example. I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And then in the back of their mind, they're thinking, oh, yeah, like, that's never going to happen. Mm-hmm. So that affirmation isn't going to work no matter how many times you say it, because you don't believe it and you can't feel like you're already there. I think the best way to give power to your affirmations, there are many ways, but one of them is to pretend you're already there. Because you're going back to that you just mentioned earlier, Pat, the brain doesn't know the difference anyway. Mm-hmm. So pretend, what have you got to lose, right? Pretend you're already there. Pretend you're already 20 pounds lighter, or whatever the situation is. Pretend you already, have survived your cancer and you're playing with your grandkids 5 years down the road. Be there. Feel like you're there. That's really where I think the power comes in affirmations. This is not just the words necessarily. They're a part of it. And then for people who say their affirmations out loud, I think that gives it a little, bump in energy as well. If you say them in the mirror and you really look at yourself and you believe what you're saying, it adds another dimension of power. So as an example, when I was recovering at home after the car accident, I would, and I know this sounds kind of silly, but every time I went to the bathroom, we had this big, mirror over our vanity in the bathroom, and I'd say, Bonnie, I'm so glad your brain is getting better and better every day. And then pretty soon it was, and I was like this little cheerleader, and pretty soon it was every minute of every day, every second of every day. And again, I have no, scientific evidence to prove that made a difference, but you know what? I think it did.
Yeah. As you were just saying that, I was imagining you and knowing what you look like in the mirror doing that. And I have to tell you something, and admit something to you today. I was looking at a couple of your other websites and I saw a picture of you and your husband. And you know what I found myself doing? I smiled back at your picture. I saw that picture of your husband. It made me want to smile at him, and the two of you together, I wanted to smile back at you. And so I think that just the feeling that you have about yourself and the energy that you have about yourself is reflected even in a mere photograph on your website. So I think it transcends just something that you're saying, and it becomes who you are.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that. That is so sweet.
Oh.
But I think you're absolutely right, Pat. It's a way of being. It's who you become. It's who you are, and it's whether you're dealing with a health issue and you find yourself in the hospital. If we all had enough self-love, self-worth, and we didn't need anything. I mean, really, what happens on the outside shouldn't reflect what we believe our value is.
Exactly. Oh, Bonnie, I wish we had a whole load of time to talk. We might have to have you back and talk more. But let's find out where we can learn more about you, what you do, and where can folks purchase your book and your CDs?
Probably the easiest place to find me online is, because I have a few different websites, but I sort of use this as my hub. It's just my name. It's just BonnieGroessl.com. BonnieGroessl.com. And pretty much I have everything there, and it links to everything else. Like my clinical practice link is there, and the radio show that I do, The Gift of Choice, is there as well. If you go to Amazon, again, that's probably the easiest way to find my stuff, is just go to Amazon and put my name in. Mm-hmm. Because I have books and CDs out there. But if you put Bonnie Groessl in the search bar, then all my stuff will show up, and then you can just kind of take a look at what's out there. I didn't intend to have this happen, but I think my name has just kind of become my brand, because there isn't another Bonnie Groessl out there, at least not online. So I don't have any competition. So it's just easiest that way, I think.
Yes, because your last name is unusual, Groessl, and I didn't find any other Groessls around either. So that's a great place, BonnieGroessl.com, and that's where you'll also find your 2-minute relaxation technique. And you had a freebie. Tell us about that.
Yes, absolutely. It's right if people go to the BonnieGroessl.com site, it's the right hand side, but it's right at the top. It's Bonnie's free stuff, and that's where my free stuff is. And the first thing that's on there is a 2-minute relaxation technique. And if you click on that, it takes you to a page. You have to tell me where to send it to, so I'll have you enter your name and email. And then there's a video that goes with that demonstrates the 2-minute relaxation technique, explains what happens in your brain actually, and how that helps affirmations to be more powerful. And then there's a free audio. It's about 20 minutes or so. It's taking a mini mental vacation. And who doesn't need another vacation? We never get to take enough. So then you get that stuff sent to your email, and then you can download that and just hang on to it.
Excellent.
So that's the first thing on my free stuff.
Yeah, that 2-minute relaxation technique is excellent. I find myself doing that. And yeah, a free vacation, who else offers that kind of a thing? Well, Bonnie, is there anything special that kind of ties in with what we were talking about today that you'd like to bring out?
The only thing that I would maybe like to reinforce is just people to know that it can be done, that anything is possible. I see so many, we all hear those stories of people who have, gone through, cancer journeys and come out the other side, or accidents or illness of some type. There's nothing that says that can't happen for anyone, really. I mean, what have we got to lose? We get what we expect, kind of. That's the whole law of attraction thing. We get what we expect, so why not expect the best? Put yourself out there in the future to where you really want to be, whatever the situation is, and feel how good that feels. Anything is possible.
Oh, you are a lovely person. We have Bonnie Groessl's page on our website where you can access today's interview. And she also has done migraine minutes, and all of those are going to be posted on there as well. So look for that on the Speak Up and Stay Alive website. Bonnie, what a pleasure to have you on the show today. I know we met for a reason, and if helping just one other person achieve a happier and healthier life, then I guess there's our reason, right?
Yeah, there are no accidents. I say that all the time.
I believe that as well. So thank you for being on our program today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's so wonderful to be able to share with people. Maybe you can even tell. I just get excited. I'm sitting like on the edge of my chair because I get excited doing this. So thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity.
Now remember, folks, you can hear Bonnie's radio program, The Gift of Choice, on the Speak Up Talk Radio Network. We make hundreds of choices every day, and we don't even think about them. And these choices do affect our lives. So I encourage you to affect your life in a positive way and listen to Bonnie's radio programs at speakuptalkradio.com. Go to her website, Bonnie Groessl, Groessl.com. And don't go anywhere, because there's a lot more in store for you right here at Speak Up and Stay Alive, Patient Safety Radio.